Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, his house also has red wires going all through the walls. Sweet Sean's a Kovacs from the internet.
Is that blood? What is that?
And has he showed you his light-up hand yet? Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and who's in the mood for some angel-killing androids?
Oh, who knows what we are in the mood for, everybody. Welcome back to Hero Movie Podcast. This week, I took a bit of a gamble, and I put together the best boggle hand that I could, and we came up today with what we'll be reviewing. The results from that, from 1995. I knew I was gonna like blank this thing. Hakaider. That's right.
It's got a longer name.
It does. There's like several other subtitles.
It's like Mechanical Violator Hakaider or something like that.
Yes, and there's also a different version called Hakaider Roboman.
I think they're all kind of under. This may be one of those ones that went out under several different names and stuff like that. And that's how a lot of the movies back in, well, before this time, because it's 95 and stuff, but even before then, like in the 80s and really certainly in the 70s, you'd get a show, throw it around everywhere, and no one really liked it all that much. Okay, retitled that Women in Cages and put it out there, and then people would go to see it because it had like a more scintillating title.
But like, wow, I didn't know this was going to be about an angel-killing android by the name Women in Cages, but I already bought my ticket.
You bought your ticket? You're might as well. Trust me, there's plenty of those there that you watch and you're just like, what does this have to do with that title?
Nobody told me that Women in Cages was about a Japanese robot.
It happens. Before we get to that review and everything, we do want to say a big thank you to everybody that supports us over at patreon.com/HMP. Doesn't matter what level you support at. Pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And, of course, this week on the Dinger Zone, we talk about kind of spoilers throughout all types of media and stuff. There's things that happen and try to spoil stuff before you even check them all out. So we talk about that and why that is over at patreon.com/HMP for the Dinger Zone and all that kind of good stuff. And, of course, when you do, you get yourself a cool HMP nickname. Now, Noah Overton. Noah has been a Patreon supporter for quite some time, and as you may recall from last week's episode, wrote a little bit of a letter and just kind of thanking us, for the show and all that kind of good stuff, and gave us a not for nothing, but Bruce gave me the Patreon nickname of Hardwired, and while he is grateful for that, he thought maybe Sean might like to take an official jab.
I love that nickname.
Come on. Noah's name instead. So we're going to throw it to Sweet Seanza here. Sean, what do you got for Noah?
All right, so Noah, I'm sure you know this already, but your name is Anglo-Saxon English and basically what the last name Overton with the surname Overton means is farm by the river. None of that makes for a good nickname. However, since Adam and I both, and even Bruce, all three of us have lived in Charlotte, North Carolina at one time, I can also tell you that there is a production company that is owned by a man named Mark Overton. And Mark Overton's, the name of his production company is Dark Woods. And so, Noah, it is my pleasure to give to you another HMP nickname. And that nickname is Noah of the Dark Woods.
Ooh.
And it would have been great if the name of that production company was also Hardwired.
Because it's just like, you just double down. That's all you got to do. Double it down, baby.
And Mark is to steal Bruce's term, kind of wrap it all into one thing here. Mark, I have met Mark many a time, and he is a hardwired gentleman.
Well, there you go.
He is the owner of Dark Woods. So Noah of the Dark Woods, if you would. There's your new HMP nickname. I hope you like it.
I certainly like it. I hope he does as well. So if you want to get yourself an HMP nickname and all the other fun stuff that comes along with that, head on over to patreon.com/HMP today. We really appreciate it. And if you can't do that, jump over to iTunes or anywhere else that you review this show. Drop us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger. And if you, just steal your grandma's phone or something, like I said, it's not against the law yet. So as you can do, please go ahead, just steal someone's phone and give us a 5-star review. And say so in the review. That way we know that you've broken the law. It's pretty fun that way. Believe it or not, boys, here is an English trailer for our movie today.
Nice.
I am Hakaider, the one who destroys to bring justice. In this mysterious megapolis, every individual is under total mind control. Hakaider, the Roboman, awakens from a long sleep. Ruthless justice? Or satanic evil? Treason? Or revenge? What's his purpose? If this piece is fictitious, I shall destroy it. Roboman Hakaider.
That was the trailer for Roboman Hakaider. There's 1,800 other different names for it. But I wish I would have seen that trailer before I actually saw the movie, because believe it or not, that trailer actually explained some stuff in the movie. And I was just like, oh, it'd have been nice knowing that when I went into this thing. But, hey, whatever. Hindsight being 2020. Let's do this.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Oh, I threw him a curveball. I don't know nothing about nothing. Let's see where he goes with it.
Well, Hakaider is a character created by Japanese television creator and mangaka Shotaro Ishinomori. Now, the character's primarily known as a villain in the Japanese adventure show Android Hakaider that premiered in 1972. It ran for a total of 43 episodes and was known as Hakaider, Android of Justice in the United States. As the title would suggest, Hakaider was the hero of the show, and the android man Hakaider was considered his younger brother and was created by a terrorist group called Dark, and its goal was to destroy Hakaider. Unlike the other Dark Destructoids, Hakaider is a cyborg, which I guess means he's got some human parts like a Terminator. In fact, he had a human brain transplanted into him and nearly succeeded in destroying Hakaider, except for the fact he had to keep taking breaks to get blood transfusions from the guy the brain belonged to. All pretty standard stuff, really, and 100% medically accurate. Now, when White Bone Flying Squirrel defeated Hakaider, they took the brain and gave it back to its original owner. Man, do you guys think there's a White Bone Flying Squirrel standalone movie we could watch? We should be so lucky. In the sequel show, Hakaider 01, a different guy's brain somehow wound up in Hakaider. I guess that would be one way to change an android's mind. Oh, and in case you're wondering, Hakaider likes to announce his presence by whistling. And speaking of announcing one's presence, Adam, do you have a list?
They should have never gave this man a soundboard. If that comic connection was enough for you, let me sell everybody on this mid-90s Japanese, what is essentially a live-action anime, because this movie has everything. Like Hakaider, for example, looks like Guy Gardner if he was a cool Japanese robot. What's the first thing that you do when you find a human chained up? That's right, you open fire immediately, only to have your entire squad wiped out by a giant robot man who doesn't know who he is. We got matte paintings, exploding doors, futuristic commandos, goggles galore, the alien robot radar from Aliens, exploding curling pucks, metal detecting, head smashing, bullets flying, screens burning, screen shattering, SWAT trotting, robot motorcycle riding, sword stabbing, horse riding, arm blasting, robot motorcycle riding. That's easy to say. Blockade smashing, heads exploding, but don't worry, it turns into feathers because reasons. We got a Ghost Rider bike that he'd be proud of. A wing shoulder pads, smoke bombs, gratuitous slow mo, and 1990s editing. Moments of Michael Bay's 1990s cinematography. A robot man named Michael. Space or time jump to a Mos Eisley of Hakaider. Ladies Who Do the Stuff, Boba Fett Doctors, David Cronenberg action, Jesus Town. That's right, Jesus Town. There are scenes where you can tell that they didn't have too much money to start with, and all of a sudden their budget went away, and they're like, yeah, white rooms, that'll do it. We got a dude who dresses up like a straight-up anime character in all white, wearing gloves. He's got angel wings with something on his shoulder. You have no idea what it is. We got reject clone droids driving motorcycles, a lady chained to a tree, a bike chained to the ground, hot chain links. So much chain-related action in this movie. It's fantastic. We got ground exploding zombie angel thing, a crew from the Rhythm Nation video, a robot that drives a motorcycle into a group of robot driving motorcycles, smashes into one of them. The hero/villain robot then grabs the throat of that robot, rides away, threatens him, and then tosses him aside. Crotch kick while on a motorcycle, which diverts him off a path onto a giant ramp and proceeds to smash into the overhang of a bridge. Why? Why not, I say? And if that's not too much, just step on the other guy's clutch and his bike will blow up. Easy. We got tons of metal and robot sounds because these are metal robots, for real. We got meat shields, a dude sweeps the leg of a motorcycle, multiple character fire burns, and that's just the first half hour. This movie has everything.
Sean,
yes.
Sean, is this Adam's most impressive list yet?
It is by far. And Adam, I know what you were doing, and I commend you for it. Is in order to continue watching throughout, you wrote a lot of notes, which is great. That is how you do it. My first reaction to watching this movie is they might as well, when they went to America with this property, they should have just called it what it actually is, which is Sad RoboCop, because that is what this movie is. This movie is Sad RoboCop.
Oh, that's a good point. I was thinking more like if Mad Max was a robot, but I like Sad RoboCop.
Because you remember how RoboCop was such a lark.
First of all, let me just point out, I know plenty of comedians who think that they are the mayor of Jesus Town. Let me just say that up front. Let's talk about our friend Hakaider.
I got one quick question though before we get too deep into it, if I may.
Please.
Did you guys watch the sub or the dub?
I watched the subtitles.
I did too. I wasn't aware there was another version.
I don't know if there was another one, but I watched the subtitles as well. If this had been a dub, there is no way I would have been able to pay enough attention to know what's going on. So I was grateful for the subs because it forced me to look at the screen.
From what I understand,
kept me away from my phone.
From what I understand, the dub is on Tubi.
Oh, and I'll say this though. My one complaint about that is this movie is like an hour and 20 minutes long. It's not super long, but I don't know about you. I got so many bleeding ads on this Midnight Pulp thing. Holy moly.
Oh,
if I got to see another tuna fish commercial, guess what? Bumblebee Tuna, you ain't on the list no more. I ain't even thinking about it. I seen your name so much, I will spit in the direction of some Bumblebee Tuna if I see it in the street.
I was getting a lot of Spanish language advertisements, and I don't speak Spanish, but from what I could tell, I think a lot of kids had cancer. So it would
I got that.
Me out.
I only got that ad once, But the Bumblebee tuna, them trying to hip up Bumblebee tuna because it's about how cool tuna
Yeah, it's
can
like,
be.
bro, we got tuna in packets, bro. Check it. And I'm like, I
didn't
just
see a
don't
single
care.
Tuna fish ad. I got to go rewatch it now. Just see if I can get.
There
a
were
tuna
like,
fish.
honestly, I think in that hour and 20, and I don't know if it was based on time because I would pause to kind of write some of the notes because you had to kind of watch. There's just too much crap going on. So I had to kind of pause to write a note that if I couldn't bang it out fast enough while the movie was going. And so I'm like, I don't know if it's based on time or whatever, but those commercials were just all of the time. And this is half a review for Midnight Pulp to saying, I don't mind a couple of commercials, but my goodness, I shouldn't have to watch 20 minutes commercials.
Don't
in an
punish me
hour
by
20.
showing the same commercial also. That's the part that gets me.
Guys,
Throw some
they're
Empire
giving you the
carpets in
gift
there
of
or something.
Hakaider for free. The gift of Hakaider for free. How dare you complain?
Whenever
about
you're eating a
Very
tuna
good
fish
point.
sandwich, think of Hakaider. That's what
Very
I'll say.
good point, sir. Very good point.
I mean, how many people max do you think have ever watched Midnight Pulp? Like 10,000. They got to pack the ads in to.
I'm telling you, if
cover
they
the
don't
paycheck of
send
the
us
one guy
some,
who handles the ad.
if they don't send us some sort of bump after this episode, I'm not sure that app's going to be around for long. If I'm quite frank with you.
Well, you got to think that most of what they have on there is probably free, or something that they bought in a package.
They may be one of those forgiveness instead of permission apps.
No.
They put it on there till they get the cease and desist letter and have to take it down.
No, the company itself is called Media Rights Asia, so that's all they do is just buy up properties and stuff, so they
Sure.
can smash them off elsewhere. So
I gotta say, if we can get into the movie, I gotta tell right off the top, right? Like just as a general thing, my biggest fear was that I was going to start watching this. And I know that you guys have a soft spot for Power Rangers.
Mhm.
I hate it. I've always hated it. I hate the aesthetic of Power Rangers. I hate the way that they speak to each other. I hate all of it.
Master John, you hate that? Why?
And so for this movie to be, first of all, subtitled and not have the English dub where, like the voices are terrible and there's a lot of people, like you have like 3 people doing all the voices for the thing. Having that gone, that was great. Having it be where, there's people who are actually trying in the movie, like the guy who's playing Hakaider, you can tell that he is trying to elicit emotions from you with his performance.
Yeah.
He's not successful, but it is one of those things, like there is something so charming about this movie in particular that it really surprised me just how much I enjoyed watching it. I'm not saying that it's the best thing ever made. It's not. It's a terrible movie, but there's something so charming about the whole thing. And there's something that feels like so otherworldly to this thing, where like so much footage of guy driving with a black backdrop behind him. There's so much of that, which is fine. That's what I mean. We've all seen an episode of Renegade. We know what that is, and that's fine. But like, one of the things that I really found charming about this movie is that they're not going to just feed you information of what you're watching. They're just like, okay, so here's a guy in a cave and he's chained up and he's gonna kill everybody because he doesn't know who he is, but we're not going to tell you that. Like, you're going to have to figure that part out later.
Yeah, it is. You walk in because, like we said, this is kind of based on some previous material and stuff. But like, if you don't know anything going in, you're like, you don't know who's good, who's bad, what is good, what is bad, and how. Like, there's a lot of things that are murky that it does kind of force you to pay attention to the story to go like, okay, who's doing what now? Are you? Oh, no, like, okay, he seems more good. Oh wait, no, he might actually be bad. Oh, and vice versa.
And he's legitimately an anti-hero. He's not like Morbius last week where they were calling him an anti-hero where he's actually just a hero. This dude is legitimately an anti-hero.
He's
where
straight up murdering people.
He is murdering people, and on top of that, sometimes he's murdering the wrong people. I know that he does release all of those kids from I'm guessing from Jesus Town jail for some reason. I don't.
Yes.
My
They're going to be
understanding.
lobotomized, I think.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
my
that's
understanding was that they were kind of lobotomizing the kids to make them into the rip-off clone troopers that we got
Right.
rolling around. So that's what I think is they take them young and grow them up and kind of, like I said, they kind of Boba Fett these guys a little bit.
Yeah, they created. My understanding was Jesus Town is presented as a utopia, but the way they keep it a utopia is taking everyone's free will away.
And by the way, if you think that like, oh, Jesus Town is something that's kind of maybe that's just like lost in translation and stuff. No, they're clearly saying Jesus Town like on like
Yes.
in the show. Like it's not
Yeah,
one of
like
those things
you
where
hear
they're
Japanese words and then Jesus Town.
They're,
thrown in the
they're
middle.
like, oh, you're not seeing like, oh, that's just something. No, it's Jesus Town, 1,000%, and it's weird and bizarre, but whatever.
Okay, so I want to talk about Jesus Town a little bit. I want to talk about this movie in general, but I got to give some perspective. I remember watching I don't remember the name of the show, but some like reality show or something from the late 90s, maybe very early 2000s, where like there's this kid who was really good at business and he was giving business advice to adults. And the advice he had was, if you've already sold something, stop trying to sell it. And I got to tell you, you've got robots on motorcycles fighting each other. You've already sold it. So why add the angels? Like the angels were the bridge too far for me. Like if you're either going to see robots on motorcycles or you're not going to see robots on motorcycles. Angels does not sweeten the pot. In fact, it makes you confused once you're getting into the robot on a motorcycle story.
Don't worry, there's a zombie angel too.
I totally disagree with you, sir. It's the reason why I loved watching Dragon Ball Z in the late 90s when it first came out, because I didn't know anything about it. And so like I just one day randomly started watching an episode where like there's a guy who might be dead who's on a little planet and he's training for something, and there's a Cadillac, and there's what am I watching? It's just insanity, just pure insanity to me. And once, I started figuring out what was happening, I wasn't interested in it anymore. And so one of the things that I really love about Hakaider is that it's Rich Evans on Red Letter Media has a phrase when it comes to watching bad movies, which is that the best bad movies are the ones that constantly keep surprising you with how it's bad in different ways over and over again. And so that's what's happening in this movie. It's what makes it so great to me, is that over and over again, I'm watching this. Half the time, I don't have any idea what's happening. I don't care. I love it. The visuals are crazy. And then on top of it, they keep surprising me with new things. It's not just a dude on a motorcycle who's killing people. It's a dude on a motorcycle who then some girl falls in love with a robot man who might not be a robot man after all. And then there's two different versions of him. One might be good, but might be bad also.
Exactly. And it's like they like, this one looks evil, this one looks nice, but are they either one of those things?
So wonderful. And I love that the masks of both Sad RoboCop and Jesus Guy, they both look like Voltron. Like their mouths have the lips on it. It looks amazing. And that's exactly what I wanted to see.
And I love that they don't move. That's I love that.
They don't. And then spoilers everybody for Hakaider, but at the end of the movie,
warning, we will spoil Hakaider, the Japanese masterpiece from 1995.
At just so they keep up the insanity and make me go, what is happening? End of the movie, Hakaider has an arm cut off. He gets on his bike, drives away, and now he's a sad robot man again on the motorcycle. Both arms back.
Arm goes back. No explanation.
No problem. No explanation. Then cuts back to him being a skin guy, where maybe he's also a man, maybe, and that arm is back also. And so right at the very end of the movie, right up to the very last frame of this movie, I was like, I have no idea what I'm watching, and it's wonderful.
If you had the option of being a skin guy or a robot guy, Wouldn't you eventually just kind of pick one that you were almost all the time? Like, he really seems to be pretty evenly split in this film between robot guy and skin guy. I think when you're in hostile murder territory, you just stay robot guy the whole time, right?
Right. And the other part to this too is when you have a lot of talking to do, you want to, wow, that New England just came out hardcore. When you have a lot of talking that you need to do, that's when you're the man. And then when you got a lot of fighting to do, you turn into sad RoboCop again.
I think it's less than that. I think it's more like, listen, I ain't gonna get no loving as a full robot. You dig?
Yeah.
And there's no question. I don't know anything that happened in this movie with certainty other than the fact that lady wanted to get with Robot Man.
Oh, without a doubt.
She was so nice. Like, it was just like I don't know, just maybe because he's a robot or something, but it felt like she was just like, oh, this guy's like, he's special because he's a robot. He's like, maybe that he's not quite all there. That's what it felt like to me. I don't know why. Maybe just because he didn't speak.
There was a line, and I might be messing this up a little bit, but she said something like, I'm not as easy as they say I am. So if we're going to do it, you better do it good. And I was like, I don't think she knows what easy means or something. Like, did she mean easy to please?
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
There were a couple of times where there were some lost in translation things. And I'm like, I feel like that would probably is what that translates to, but I don't know that that's exactly what we need to get across to the English reading audience.
And this is 1995, man. Imagine if they would have had babies, they could have had the new BTS.
Oh, yes. Now, I've got a question here. Do they call it Jesus Town because that's where the angels live? Or did the angels live there because it's called Jesus Town? They're like, we got to find a place to live. How about Jesus Town?
Well, I think the idea
Where's
was
a place for a prince to find a wife? Queens.
they looked for any place that had bad matte paintings of Jesus and angels in the background that are just really, really bad looking. You can practically see the seams. It's great.
It's so great though. I love the matte paintings. I love the set design is amazing. Like there's a lot of thought that goes into it.
That's
like
the
especially when they're cutting up Jesus Town, the main palace there, and like there are like intestines and also coils. And what are we looking at? It's amazing.
Like, you blow up the head of one of these kind of stormtrooper characters, and like in one scene it'll blow up and it's just, a sea of feathers, and you're like, what's this? Another one, he'll just jam eyeballs out and blood goes gushing. I don't know. Same type of person, but way different outcomes based on how you hit
careful attention. If you pay careful attention, there are some subtle clues that this was written by more than one person. Like, there is a lack of through line on some of that.
What are you talking about? This seemed all pretty air drum tight to me.
This also has one of the best lines of dialogue I've ever seen in any movie we've ever seen, where the Jesus robot says something to Sad RoboCop, and Sad RoboCop says back to him, well, then I guess that I am evil. Wonderful.
They have these discussions and then go on to a fight that has 0 words in it.
Amazing.
There's a part you guys might have understood thematically better than I did, but there's a part, maybe I missed something, but the girl tells Robot Guy, she tells Hakaider, I'm going to take you to my secret place. And, they're in this dystopian Jesus Town, and all of a sudden her secret place is like 2,000 acres of beautiful undeveloped land with ruins of statues the size of the Statue of Liberty in the background. How is there a secret place like this in Jesus Land?
And there's all of these
like
people
in her mind. Like, did she take him into her dream space or something?
I like that idea. Is half of this is just somebody's hallucinogenic dream.
It's like the Dream Warriors, Freddy Krueger.
I just take it as Judge Dredd, where anything that's out of Mega City 1 is just, no man's land.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. If you can lay claim to it and no one else can come and take it and challenge you for it, then it's yours.
I started thinking like maybe this is like Legion or Moon Knight, and the truth is this is just a guy with mental illness, and this is what he thinks is going on around him.
Or it's somebody just playing a video game or something, and that's because ultimately that feels like what it is. It's like what's going on here? All of a sudden, we flip over to another scene, and there's zombie angel coming out of the grave, and you're like, what's happening here?
Yeah, I never quite understood the contribution to the story of the zombie angel.
It was kind of fun and scary looking. It was very cool. That's the thing.
Did the
It's
wings
well
come
done.
out of its head though?
Yeah, kind
No,
of. It was like
its
a
shoulder.
yeah.
Oh, I thought it was coming out of like where its ears should be, were wings.
They're kind of small and high up, so it sort of looks like that. I see what you're saying though,
Yeah.
because it's like it's way high on the back, right in the trap area.
Yeah.
Strange.
So I gotta say, we have a lot to talk about with this movie for a movie where there are huge swaths of time, and I mean like 10-minute fight scenes where not a line is said.
Yeah, they could use some like Dragon Ball Z in there where they're talking about plot points and stuff as things are going on, so to give us a little something other than just two guys in little plastic costumes bashing the snot out of each other.
Some punch position.
I got to tell you, the Michael android
Mhm.
kind of reminded me of the android hunter from Psycho Gorman, if you remember that one there.
Oh man, a little bit.
The angel-looking android,
Yeah,
got a little-
blind or whatever.
God, I love Psycho Gorman. I
Yeah.
love that movie
I
so
bet
much.
Hakaider was a major influence on the production of Psycho Gorman.
I would not doubt.
And nor would I.
Definitely Tokusatsu influence there.
But I do have to say that the fight choreography is almost a miracle at how good it is, and it's not good. But what I'm trying to say is the guys with the 3 lenses on their helmets, they can't see anything. The guy playing Hakaider can't see anything. The guy who's the angel guy can't see anything. Like no one can see anything, and there is a whole lot of hand-to-hand fighting happening in this movie.
Yeah, like I said, it's not amazing, but like, and especially given their not only just visual problems, but just the moving around in the suit and everything, they're doing a pretty good job.
And the cherry on top to your like sad RoboCop movie is he fights Ed 209, the stop motion mechanical monster at the end, which I was so shocked that they went from all people in suits to actually the expense of stop motion for that grand finale. Like, somebody was really proud of that stop motion.
Well, this movie is such a gift, man, because not only do you get stop motion, but there's also a whole lot of free dummies in this movie.
Which I love the dummies.
I mean, there's so many free dummies in this movie. And then you have the thing also where it's the poor man's process where we're walking, but we're not actually moving. That's in this movie as well. There's so many great moments where it's just like, man, you guys are using every bad trick in the book. Good job.
And that's the thing. It looks like this doesn't feel like cheapo crap movie that they just brushed through as fast as they possibly could. Stuff was made for this movie. Costumes were made. A lot of costumes. I mean, with all the little kind of stormtrooper characters and stuff, they made a buttload of those costumes. And so you gotta have at least a decent budget to be busting out all that kind of wardrobe.
And somebody really thought they were saying something meaningful. You know what I mean? Even though I don't quite think they succeeded in accomplishing their vision, you don't have Jesus Town and angels and lobotomies unless you're saying something about religion and stuff, right?
Yes. And also, I mean, just the poetry of what the characters are saying, because you have the 3 guys, right? You got Sad RoboCop, you got Angel Robot. Those 2 guys are constantly soliloquizing at some point. And then you've got, for lack of a better term, let's call him Asian Adam Ant, who's the mayor of Jesus Town.
Yeah.
And that guy, you can't shut that guy up. He's just constantly talking about, how important it is that Jesus Town stays the way Jesus Town is, and why this benefits society and everything else. And you don't put that sort of effort ahead if you think that this is a something for little kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, somebody thought they were really saying something here.
Yes.
He goes over to the screen and looks at the kids that are lobotomized, and it's just like, oh, my sweet little, look how happy they are. Like, these kids just got the most dumbfound look on their face. It's like, oh boy.
Lot of drooling in this movie also.
That's how you tell somebody is had the business on them, They're like, oh, I'm not
That's
smart
how
no more.
Yeah, that's how you impress them.
That's how you impress them.
Rule.
The motorcycle scenes, I love them so much. Bruce, as our resident motorcycle enthusiast of the group, what say you on all this awesome motorcycle action?
I'm going to say they did not use very many stunt riders.
Yes.
I think whoever was brave enough could do the scene.
Yes.
That's what I'll say about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of production assistants on motorcycles in this one.
Just
for
jump
sure.
on into that, you'll be fine.
It's the most impressive thing about it is just knowing that even unimpressive things can be dangerous when you have no clue what you're doing.
It's true.
And I feel like yeah, some limbs were probably lost.
I mean,
Just like trying to start it and run.
the helmet's covering your face, so I'm not sure exactly what you're complaining about. It's all right. But my favorite really was kicking the guy, and then he goes over to a ramp that's made up and then smashes into the overpass. And it's no other reason than like, bro, we got this sweet stunt we set up. It bears no bit to the story.
That guy is super lucky that just before he hits that bridge, he turned into a dummy.
I was going to say some of the best crashes were totally by accident. They weren't in the script. They kept them. They're like, ooh.
Everybody else is like, but everybody else starts flying through. It's like no one cares. They're just like, nah, he's down. Just keep on rolling.
It's just like that scene in Mad Max Road Warrior. I still have a problem seeing that scene where the stuntman misjudged the footing and he hits his foot as he's flying off his motorcycle. He hits his foot on like a car hood or something, and he just flips end over end. I still have trouble looking at that because I'm like, that there's no way that guy wasn't severely hospitalized after that stunt.
It's one of those where it's like the guy took the injury, so you can maybe understand George Miller wanting to keep it in the movie, but there's like a sort of an ethical thing where it's like somebody probably might have even died on that one. You don't.
Well, he's definitely not dead because he's in interviews. He's like, look, for 6 months, I couldn't tell you what happened for the next 6 months because I was completely blitzed out of my mind.
Oh man, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
I always tell people the movie to look for the outtakes and stuff for all these crazy stunts is Born to Fight. There's the scene involving a tractor trailer where you're like, how is this person's head not rolled over by a tire? It is like that kind of close. Unreal.
Yikes.
Just like, whoa, how people aren't dead. But
let's just say a guy was in the mood to do some bad special effects. Where would I pick up a couple of those dummies?
You can rent them.
I don't know if they'll be. I don't want to lose my deposit.
Excuse me, sir. This
I need
seems to have a
buy
lot
me
of
some special effects dummies because I'm going to make nothing but YouTube videos of violent accidents where it's clearly a dummy flying off the top of my house.
all charred
See
up.
what they're doing with all the old Super Dave dummies. Where are those at?
Because the store mannequin just doesn't flop the right way. I've tried that.
Do you know?
I love Super Dave. I love the concept of Super Dave. But you get the concept after that first episode. You know, even as a child, I was like, oh, okay, so I see what's going on.
Oh, I don't know about that. I was always convinced at least one of these times something was going to work. Like I was that dumb kid of like, I think by maybe the fifth time, I think I caught on, but I was just like, oh, he's really going to do it this time.
Is it Super Dave's brother somebody with like a regular career? Like a regular Hollywood career?
Well, Bob Einstein is brothers with Albert Einstein, who goes by the stage name of Albert Brooks.
Okay, so I was thinking like you had a brother who was more successful. Man, Albert Einstein, why do you use a stage name when you got a name like that?
Well, I mean,
that Albert Einstein was kind of a known character at that point.
Oh, imagine if I made a movie called Young Einstein, but it was all about a young Albert Brooks.
if you want to see some of the funniest stand-up you'll ever see in your life, watch old Albert Brooks stuff. He has a bit that he does on the old Flip Wilson show that might be the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it's him as the world's worst ventriloquist. It is amazing.
It sounds like an Albert Brooks bit for sure.
It is so amazing.
I still say the one thing standing between me and massive stardom is a lack of access to dummies. You just wait. Once I crack the dummy code, sky's the limit. I'm ditching you losers.
This next podcast, dummy code.
I'll give you the website address to ISS so you'll get all the dummies you want.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think the biggest, if I'm to have a problem with this film, and I don't know that I do, uh, it's the story is a little bit all over the place. I learned a lot from the actual trailer and stuff that had the English dub. I was like, oh, all of these stormtrooper people were under mind control. It's like I kind of got that towards the end, but the first whole half, it was like, you have no idea what any of this is.
But isn't it way better when you don't know? Like I get so much more enjoyment by barely understanding what the filmmakers are trying to tell me. I think so much more enjoyment out of it.
There's something fun about how your brain insists on like filling in the gaps.
Yes.
So like all three of us could see three totally different movies.
Yes, because they're not telling you a whole lot. And the other thing about this movie too that I really dig is that no one is using half measures. No one is gold, or no one's sandbagging this show. Like everyone is going 100% trying to make this thing work, and it's one of the things that makes it so charming to me. When you see like super famous actors sometimes and they're just walking through stuff, it's the worst. It makes for a very poor, mediocre movie. Like it feels like for some reason, the only person who keeps coming up is Chevy Chase in my head. There's a bunch of stuff that Chevy Chase did after Fletch where you're just like, this is the worst comedy I've ever seen because that guy doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And that's not happening here.
The only time that like I kind of, not that this was his fault per se, I feel like it might have been somebody else after what we'd seen there. But our good buddy Yam 2, who was in Aquaman, his performance in Aquaman, I thought he was probably the worst one in there. I was like, look, his dad's running circles around him while he's drowning and stuff like that. I didn't think he did well. But then, come to other films and, he's actually quite a good actor. That guy's just perfectly fine. So, sometimes who knows what can bring around a horrible performance, whether it be actors or just, who they're, paired up with and what they've got to work with, I guess. But yeah, overall, the thing that's fun about this is, again, that we don't know where anything is going, and that's why I called this kind of a live action anime, because that's what I have like the more kind of anime that I go through over time. And Bruce, I want you to talk about this because I think that you, amongst the three of us for sure, in the past couple of year and a half, 2 years, have gained a lot more experience with anime than we have. Is that the thing that kind of brings you back to a lot of stuff? And the thing that I seem to like about anime now that I'm seeing it is that you have no idea where anything's going. There's no American tropes that just kind of pop up and you go, oh, well, here's where this thing is. It's all of a sudden, oh, yeah, and that person's a demon. You didn't know that for half of this thing.
They have their own tropes, so coming from the West, it can be pretty fresh. Most anime the anime that I watch, anime is like anything else. It's like saying most comic books are, how many different comic books there are, how many different writers, stuff like that. Yeah. But the anime that I watch is usually pretty tightly constructed and actually a really, really interesting story that's told in a long form. It's not like this. It's not like this. But yeah, there is definitely like a different set of tropes and a different kind of thinking and approach, and twists can be a big part of it. And it is a lot of fun. Because
I'd mentioned it kind of, I think, off air. I'd watched that Jujutsu Kaisen 0, but I only kind of half watched it. And then because I was just sort of listening as things were going on because it was the dub, and there were just things that would just radically change, and you're like, wait a minute, what kind of movie is this now? All of a sudden, the temperature just changes all of a sudden, and then you go back to something else, again, and it's kind of those wild swings. And this movie kind of felt like that, where you're just like, okay, here's this crazy scene.
The tonal shifts are a mainstay, and I think it's a little holdover in the media produced in Japan from the days where like you have to give everybody what they want with every movie and with every episode. So yeah, the tonal shifts are definitely a mainstay.
So Bruce, let me ask you this question, since you seem to know a whole lot more about this than I do, but when it comes to female roles, is it still as bad as it clearly is in the 90s for for anime like that?
Oh, there's still plenty of that out there.
Is there
still plenty of fan service out there? But then you get the cool stuff that comes along without fan service at all. Like in Attack on Titan, there's zero fan service.
No, I know, which makes one of the reasons why I like that show so much.
But that might make it a little bit less common. There's still plenty of it. Yeah, when you're watching something, you're rolling the dice until you got a few episodes under your belt, whether or not you need anybody else in the room when you're watching it.
Because I don't know about you guys, but the second that girl shows up and she falls in love with sad RoboCop, I'm like, well, she's dead.
Yeah.
I hope this never ends. Like, I always love when there's whenever anybody starts throws in the line of like, this looks like the beginning of a beautiful friendship, or looks like smooth sailing from here on out. You know everything's doomed.
Yeah, I just 2 days to retirement. My wife just had a baby.
Can't
Bye,
wait,
guys.
I just called dibs on her secret place if I'm living in that dystopia.
All right, before we get to our do we have anything else?
I really don't. I mean,
I think we gave this movie an excellent treat.
Because here's the thing, like we said, you can try to go over plot points and stuff, but you're not gonna understand anything. It's weird, it's bizarre, it's a clump together of this crazy Japanese amalgamation of just stuff. And I don't know. To me, it was awful fun. Before we get to that full rating and everything, we do have to ask ourselves one very important question: is how this wacky Japanese sci-fi action movie relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Good luck.
Oh, this one was a lot easier than you think. Mr. Sylvester Stallone, this week's Stallone Connection has me pretty excited because for the first time, I get to talk about something I never get a chance to speak about on this show, and especially on the Stallone Connection, and that's the topic of love. You see, it's like this. So even though we didn't watch the English dub version of Hakaider, there is one out there somewhere, and in that version, the voice of Kairu is played by voiceover talent Michelle Ruff. Michelle Ruff is the Stallone Connection this week because her very first job was doing additional ADR on a movie called Ants, starring you, Sylvester Stallone, and sex criminal Woody Allen. But the reason why this week's Stallone Connection is a love story is because Michelle Ruff is married to a man named Eddie J. Correa. They've been married since 2017, which might not seem like a long time because that was 6 years ago. But go ahead and ask my ex-wife if 6 years is a long time to be married to someone. My guess is she's going to say way too long. But anyway, through some digging, it looks like Michelle Ruff and Eddie Correa found each other while working together doing ADR work on the animated movie Lupin the Third: Blood Seal, Eternal Mermaid. He was the dashing sound mixer and Michelle was the coquettish voice talent. A meet cute happened, looks were exchanged, they began talking, and it turns out they had a lot in common. They both decided to go on a first date, a restaurant, not an expensive place, but this little out of the way spot that wasn't elegant or fancy, but it was perfect, romantic. The end of the kind of a place that they'll think about for the rest of their lives. They start dating more and get to know each other's bodies. It's a little awkward at first, but wonderful nonetheless, because there's love behind the physical nature of what they're doing. And they both know they want more from that other person. Finally, one day, as they're both enjoying some well-deserved downtime, Eddie pops the question. It's not spontaneous, but spontaneity was never Eddie's jam. Eddie's a planner. 6 months later, Michelle and Eddie get married in Mother Nature's glory on the side of a mountain, surrounded by a few loved ones and an overwhelming feeling of mutual love and respect. Now it's 6 years later, and these two crazy kids are still making it work. They're considered the first family of ADR work, at least by me, and I wish them all the best. Congratulations, Michelle. Not only for your successful marriage to Eddie, but also on being this week's Stallone Connection. And there you have it, Mr. Stallone, this week's Stallone Connection. I'll talk to you next week, too. Maybe you'll finally write back. Your pal, Sweet Shawnsy from the internet.
On Mr. Stallone, that's heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. If your people need to know. I'm sure he would dictate the letter. Wouldn't you think?
Sure.
Susan, take a note, that kind of thing.
Oh, of course.
That's what I figure. He's got to have one of those things going on. All right. Over here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out, head on over to the subreddit, reddit.com/Hero Movie Podcast. Bruce, where does Hakaider land on the Robin rating system for you?
Sean, you mentioned Lupin the Third.
Mhm.
There was a story arc in Lupin the Third where they came to Los Angeles and they worked with a boy detective who rode a skateboard, wore a trench coat. The boy detective had a glass eye, and his name was Belanco, son of Columbo. That is your anime fact for this episode.
I
Son of
love
Columbo,
everything you
Belanco.
just said. I love everything you just said.
The kid inherited the glass eye. That's what's so great about it. He was like a little Peter Falk. Oh, what am I rating this?
He's
man?
wearing a coat.
Yes, he's got the trench coat and riding a skateboard.
Wonderful.
Just one more question. Okay, so, man, how in the world do you rate the experience of Hakaider? I guess I'm just going to say Damian Wayne because I think it's going to be polarizing. Like, you're either going to think it's an interesting way to spend an hour and a half plus 70 minutes of commercials,
Yeah.
or you're going to think it was a waste of your time. Like, there's not going to be much in between, which is weird that I give it the in between rating, but I think it's going to be polarizing. It's an interesting experience, but not one for everybody. Damian Wayne.
Sean, what do you got?
This movie is either a Tim Drake or a Jason Todd. I can't tell. You know what? I'm in a good mood. I enjoyed watching this. I'm gonna give it a Tim Drake because it's insanity. It's pure insanity. I have not gone what as many times as I have watching this movie. The last time I went what like that, like out loud was something we've seen was when we saw that racing movie where there's that one part where. There's the one part where that girl's the love interest and everybody at school keeps calling her a prostitute. And like you're waiting for like, oh, somebody overheard something and it's just bad. And no. She's actually a prostitute at the end of that movie. And I was like, what? So this has that same level of surprise to me. This is so I'm going to give it a Tim Drake for that alone.
Yeah, I'm 100% on Tim Drake. This show is great. I had such a stupid fun time with it. Save for the commercials, Midnight Pulp. We want to do more things on your app. For the love of my sanity, could you cut back the commercials 25%?
Enough with the Bumblebee tuna.
We've had enough of it. I've had it up to here with the Bumblebee tuna. So just
I hope they offer to sponsor this show.
listen. If you put enough money in my pocket, Bumblebee tuna, I will sing your praises. We will
I'll
make.
play mahjong with a cool looking old Asian lady also while wearing sunglasses. I'll be in that commercial. No worries.
We will make Midnight Pulp look like, just no, it's not even close. Just so Bumblebee Tuna, here movie podcast at gmail.com. What did the Bumblebee people actually say? That'd be hilarious.
They're like top 3 at best.
Oh, are you?
Please, top 2.
No, I like Starkiss and Chicken of the Sea, both better than Bubble.
I'm going to throw
Chicken of the Sea.
Chicken of the Sea goes down to 3rd place and you know it. Come on. You got Starkist as your top. We all know that.
And that's all because Charlie Tuna fandom.
Well, listen,
course.
it is what it is, baby. You go with what works, and that it's been working. Then you got your Bumblebee. Then you got your Chicken of the Sea. Get out of here with your Chicken.
Come on,
of the
the tuna wearing
was-
a beret. How do you beat that? You don't.
I always thought the mermaid on Chicken of the Sea was cute.
I did when I did the retro horror screenings for the theater in October, I put together all of these retro commercials and stuff. And there was one when I was doing from the 50s where there's a Charlie Tuna commercial from the 50s. And he's just like, go watch those super old commercials, the ones in black and white. You're going to be like, what? This is what they sold people on?
Isn't it? Wasn't he originally an impression of someone?
I'm not exactly sure who he's supposed
It sure
to be.
feels like it with his
know.
horn rimmed glasses and his beret. It sure feels like he's supposed to be somebody.
Basically, it's the idea is that there's this burnout tuna that won't get picked. And that's what's kind of the problem. He's just like, hey man, I'm gonna get up there to the stock case. It's gonna be the best, baby. We're gonna do it. And then it's like there's like a hook comes down with a sign on it that says all full or something like that. Like, we only pick the best tuna over here at Starkist. It's
Awesome.
Charlie Tuna was just kind of some stoner fish, I guess. I don't know.
apparently Arthur W. Ferguson was a radio personality who worked under the name Charlie Tuna.
Oh, there you go.
And that's who Charlie the Tuna was based on, I guess.
A burnout radio guy. It makes perfect sense. But yes, this is a Tim Drake for me. I enjoyed this movie. It's so stupid. But like I said, it is one of those that you will just continue to watch it because you don't know where things are going. Next thing you know, we're riding on motorcycles, and then there's a guy who's in some sort of a weird, pit of blood and wires and crap, and then the walls have wires in them with who knows. It's so bizarre and weird, but it's a heck of a lot of fun. That is available on Midnight Pulp right now for freezies, so go check that out. That will do it for this episode of Hero Movie Podcast. We'll talk about what we're doing next week in just a moment, but Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Hey, go check out YouTube, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie, where on, the same day that this podcast comes out, I'll have a video where I look at memes. Do you guys like memes?
I'm a big meme fella. Yeah.
I'm looking at some Attack on Titan memes. I got a folder full of them, and I rank them from 1 to 10 on the dad joke scale. So you want to check that one out.
Can I ask you this, Bruce? Because this is what I would do as if I was in your particular position. I would look to your kids and be like, you go get them Attack on Titan memes and put them all, like, you can have little producers. That's what I would do. If you're not doing that now, you ought to put that into practice. That way you don't have to look at any of them ahead of time, and they can be real proper reactions. I don't have
nice.
You just put me in as a producer down in the credits. That's all I ask. Sean, what else?
So we have a show called Moon Knight 30 Questions, which we will be recording right after we're done with this one, and I take my dog outside. Please listen to that.
Do all of those fun things. Check out the Film Find. Put out my review on Ron Howard and Clint Howard's new book, The Boys, a memoir about Hollywood and family. So go check that out. And I got a huge episode where I'm going to be talking about Sonic and Sonic 2 and Ambulance and 2 Nick Cage flicks that I ended up seeing and stuff. So I got all kinds of good stuff, giants things over there at the Film Find. Go check it out. That'll do it for this episode. Join us next week when we're talking about Painkiller Jane from 1995. It is on Tubi right now for the next little bit. We don't know when it's expiring, so you better watch it now. And when they see the that uptick for Painkiller Jane, maybe they'll keep it a little bit while longer. You know what I'm saying? Give them that HMP bump because it could leave at any second. We don't know. But we'll be checking that out. Painkiller Jane from 1995 for Sweet Sean's Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Anna Porters. Stay super, everybody.
I'm Marty Neely.
You're wondering who I am. Secret, secret, I've got a secret. Machine or mannequin. Secret, secret, I've got a secret. With parts made in Japan. Secret, secret, I've got a secret. I am the modern man. Mr. Roboto. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Thank you very much, oh Mr. Roboto, for doing what you asked, Mr. Roboto. And thank you very much, Mr. Roboto, for helping me escape to where I needed to. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, thank you, Mr. Roboto. Thank you, Mr. Please, thank you, Mr. Roboto. The problem's plain to see. Too much technology. Machines to save our lives. Machines dehumanize.